U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance's cousin Nate has been fighting for Ukraine as part of the 108th Separate Mechanized Brigade, Vinci Wolves, since 2022. In March, he came to Lviv and wanted to help in some way. One day at the hotel, Nate meets a British volunteer who was looking for people with military experience. They took anyone who had ever held a gun. The training was very basic, he says. A few weeks later, when a group of Ukrainian volunteers invited him to go to the front with them, he agreed, Figaro writes. The man reportedly had military experience, having served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 4 years. Since then, he returned to the U.S. for only a few weeks, and in June 2022, he went back to Ukraine to fight in the Donbass, where there was fierce fighting. Only in January 2025 did he return to the U.S. When Nate heard his cousin J.D. Vance attack Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski in the Oval Office of the White House, he was furious. He was deeply disappointed. J.D. is a good man, smart. When he criticized aid to Ukraine, I thought it was just a political game, that he was trying to please a certain electorate. But what they did with Zelensky with U.S. President Donald Trump was an ambush, saturated with absolute hypocrisy, he emphasizes. Nate and J.D. are cousins. The vice president's mother, Beverly, is the sister of Nate's father, James. I was disappointed. When J.D. justified his distrust of Zelensky with the stories he had seen, it took my breath away. His own cousin was on the front lines. I could have told him the truth, without embellishment, without personal gain. But he never tried to find out more, Nate notes. At the same time, the man himself tried to contact his cousin, but there was no response. He considers the U.S. Putin's useful idiots, calling Trump and Vance's attempts to negotiate with the Kremlin dictator a mistake. Media reported earlier that Vance had become the main antagonist in Trump's negotiations with Ukraine. European officials familiar with the progress of Ukraine-US negotiations on the agreement on valuable minerals noted that Vance often took a tougher position on this issue than Trump. In addition, Trump and Vance can destroy the world order, which will be used by Russia and China. These two people are sure that Russia is not a threat. They also believe that the United States should leave NATO and seize Greenland one way or another. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen held a press conference to mark the 100 days of her second term at the head of the European Commission and to outline her priorities for the coming months. According to Associated Press, she addressed security and the current alliance with the United States. The tasking of the European Council was very clear that we deliver on the National Escape Clause and that we deliver on the proposal with the new instrument, with €150 billion in loans, for joint procurement. We are looking into the topic of cohesion funds, as you know, and to deliver on the private sector, the savings and investment union and a different lending pattern of the EIB, said the president. The United States, they have been for more than 80 years our closest ally. And in the face of adversity, the US and Europe have always been stronger together. And yes, there are differences. But, we might have different views on some topics. But if you look at the common interest that we have, they always outweigh our differences. So I think it's important that we work together. We will have our differences, we have to sort them out, but we will have to find common avenues. Regarding Ukraine, von der Leyen announced they will have to step up their support. We have made sure that the financing gap for the economic survival of Ukraine is closed in 2025. Focusing on this year. And indeed, I mean, if you look at what the European Union delivered overall, it's €140 billion. And this includes the economic survival or stability of Ukraine, in the year 2025, she explained. Military equipment have been supplied to Ukraine, actually on par with the United States, here. We will have to step up without any question. Finally, von der Leyen reassured that there will be no need to de-risk relations with the US.
I mean, it's a huge amount that we are offering now to member states or for joint procurement, 800 billion. So that's enormous. And therefore, I think we will focus now on delivering the legal proposals, which is under time pressure. We are under time pressure to do that. We want to do this before the next European Council. And this is where the focus is on. Of course, if there are interesting ideas, I'm absolutely willing to look into this. But the tasking of the European Council was very clear, that we deliver on the national escape clause and that we deliver on the proposal with the new instrument with 150 billion euros in loans for joint procurement. We are looking into the topic of cohesion funds, as you know, and to deliver on the private sector, the Savings and Investment Union, and a different lending pattern of the EIB. Cut, the other part of your question, the United States, they have been for more than 80 years our closest ally. And in the face of adversity, the US and Europe have always been stronger together. And yes, there are differences, but we might have different views on some topics, but if you look at the common interests that we have, they always outweigh our differences. So I think it's important that we work together. We will have our differences. We have to sort them out, but we will have to find common avenues.
But can you give us a sense of when you expect agreement on the Kaja Kallas initiative, on what steps the EU will be taking to support Ukraine to provide military aid this year, given how critical the situation is and the gap that has opened up with the very big gap from the loss of US aid? Thank you.
Ukraine, we have made sure that the financing gap for the economic survival of Ukraine is closed. This in 2025, focusing on this year. And indeed, I mean, if you look at what the European Union delivered overall, it's 140 billion euros, and this includes the economic survival or stability of Ukraine in the year 2025. If you look at the military supply, 52 billion euros have been worth military equipment have been supplied to Ukraine, actually on par with the United States. Here we will have to step up without any question. This initiative, Rearm Europe, helps a lot because it gives in two ways at least, and the third one is the possibility of private investment also, possibilities to be faster and more targeted in supporting Ukraine.
What does this plan mean for non-EU countries as Moldova is, and can we expect even more support from the European Union? Thank you.
Moldova, for sure, as a candidate country, can expect a lot of support from the European Union, and I think we are on a very good path. With the growth plan, for example, we're working intensively on giving Moldova more access to the European single market in certain sectors. This comes with investment in Moldova's economy. So Moldova can expect that we stand by Moldova firmly and determined, and of course with the full support that we have given so far, and this will always also be the case in the future.
Regarding the relation with the US, do you think that at some point during your mandate you will have to de-risk the relation with the US as you have done with China?
A clear no. It's a completely different relationship we have with the United States than we have with China.